Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Monkey D. Garp is one of the most powerful marines, possibly ever, and in his prime he confronted multiple powerful pirates, including the king of the pirates, Gol D. Roger. And this allowed him to achieve great worldwide fame because of all of his incredible deeds. But because of all of these conflicts, there were several injuries to Garp's body that were made, causing him to acquire battle scars, marking him for life and reminding him of his enemies and the experiences he had with them. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the scars and confrontations that Garp had throughout his youth as one of the strongest sailors of that era. We'll also talk about how these clashes happened and how the clash ended. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like and even subscribe and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out, especially with that old YouTube algorithm, and it continues to motivate us to make more content. If you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, Garp is one of those individuals that has already faced off against some of the most powerful pirates that have ever existed. And in these battles, there were some that he nearly lost his life. And although it's not possible to see all the scars that Garp has earned, I mean, they might even practically cover his whole body, but it's undeniable that during some of these fights against these powerful individuals, Garp definitely acquired scars on his body. The only scar that's possible to see on Garp is the one located on his face next to his eye, very similar to Luffy's scar, but much larger. Now, although we don't have information about this scar, it's likely that Garp got it by fighting Roger. At the time when Gol D. Roger was alive, he was one of the most powerful and dangerous pirates in the world. And Garp was one of the only people who had managed to confront him several times, and was the only one who really ever offered a great challenge to Roger. Through these exchanges, their respect for each other grew to a point that it was so great that Roger said that Garp was one of the two Marines that he considered to be strong and doing real good for the world. And the other, of course, was Sengoku. Due to their countless exchanges, Roger came to see Garp as much of a friend as he did the rest of his crew. Garp also had a form of respect for him as well, as not only was he protective of Ace, but he also showed signs of disappointment with Ace's decision to disregard Roger as his father. Now, as much as these various confrontations made them gain something of a friendship or a great mutual respect, because they were on opposite sides of the law, this really kind of inhibited them from ever becoming great friends. Furthermore, Garp recognized Roger's strength, stating that although Roger was extremely reckless, it was that very recklessness that made him become the Pirate King. And Garp had also told Dadan that even though he was a Marine, he would never ever be able to hate Roger. At the time when Roger was about to be executed for turning himself in due to a terminal illness, he made one final request of Garp. He asked him to look after his unborn child, as they didn't deserve to be convicted as a criminal because of their father's crimes, something that they both indeed agreed to. And although Garp initially wanted to turn Ace into a Marine just like him rather than a pirate like Roger, he still wanted Ace to be proud of his biological father. Although, in the end, Garp was unsuccessful in all of these things. So through the thick and thin, Garp and Roger were both great enemies and great friends at the same time. And the fights that these two had throughout their lives really almost ended in them both losing their lives. The strength of these two were equal, which meant that the clashes that there were always ended in a tie, leaving both extremely injured and unable to continue to fight to know who would have ended up being the winner. And during these fights, there's a possibility that Garp acquired many wounds, as well as Roger, who might have acquired many scars because of his fights with Garp. Now, before Roger's era, Rocks was Garp and even Roger's biggest enemy. And there was a conflict in a location known as God Valley that required Garp to team up with Roger to end his reign of terror. Unfortunately, we don't know much about Sebek or how this confrontation with Garp went, but because he is much more powerful than Roger, we could see that Sebek was able to cause some pretty huge problems for Garp. Add on the fact that Garp had to have Roger join him really showed that this was taking this Marine far beyond his limit to be able to confront this powerful pirate. During this fight against Sebek, Roger might have acquired wounds on his body, causing him to have scars that are just not visible, but still exist on his body. Another pirate that may have caused injury to Garp as well, although he didn't have the same level as the two pirates mentioned before, is Don Shinjao, an infamous pirate who prided himself on his pointy head, which Garp was determined to break. After training by leveling 8 mountains with his fists, Garp successfully crushed Shinjao's head in a confrontation, managing to emerge victorious in this fight, in addition to leaving a bad memory and taste in his mouth for Don Shinjao. This battle led Don Shinjao to hold a grudge against Garp so strong that it extended to all of his descendants, and it lasted for over 30 years. And Shinjao only lifted his grudge and forgave Garp when his grandson Luffy hit his head so hard that it returned it to his former pointy glory. And considering the height of the fight between Garp and Shinjao, Shinjiao, it's likely that the two may have faced off against each other multiple times, in which it could have been considerably challenging for Garp since he had to train in order to take on Don Shinjiao and finally end his career. So again, in all of these previous battles, Shinjiao might have managed to inflict serious wounds on Garp's body, causing the Navy hero to acquire a scar thanks to Don Shinjiao. The next pirate that we'll discuss, who became a major impediment to Garp and even Sengoku during the past, was Shiki the Golden Lion. This pirate was a huge problem for the Navy and caused immense confusion around the world. Although Garp had confronted him several times, none of those times ever resulted in Shiki ever being imprisoned, because he was always able to escape from the most secure prisons in the world. And as we've already stated, just like the other pirates mentioned, it's quite difficult to know how many times Garp faced off against even Shiki, or even how many times he had arrested him. But it's likely that during these exchanges against the pirate, Garp was injured to the point of creating a scar. As we know, Shiki was a former pirate from the Rock's pirate crew, which already makes him an extremely powerful pirate just because of the crew he belonged to, which was at the time the most powerful crew of pirates. While he was still active, Shiki considered the Marines too weak to the point of being able to capture him, or even Roger, presenting no challenge. And even Garp and Sengoku in their prime, where they were extremely powerful and skilled, not even they could bring Shiki down. After multiple years and many exchanges, Shiki was finally brought down by Sengoku and Garp, and this caused him to have a huge hate for both of them. Now, this battle is never shown in the story, but due to the incredible abilities that have been shown by Shiki during the One Piece movie, it's likely that Shiki presented a huge challenge for both the Marines during the battle. In that very same movie, the first time Shiki had resurfaced in the world after 20 years, he started off by attacking the Marine headquarters as a warning, making Garp want to start hunting him and capturing him yet again. Sengoku always viewed Shiki as the main enemy, and even though it was 20 years ago, he looked at him the same way Garp saw Roger. Shiki was also the first prisoner to ever escape from Impel Down, cutting off his own shackled legs and then replacing them using his own personal swords as prosthetic limbs. Shiki's escape wounded the pride of all of the staff in the prison, as it did Magellan personally, who was deputy warden at the time, defaming the Navy's fame completely to the point that it was necessary for Luffy's crew to defeat Shiki for the Navy to capture him again. Now, although these events in which Luffy confronts Shiki is not technically canonical, it's just a part of the movie after all, we still want to consider that Shiki has been arrested again after the great confusion he caused. But again, over all the confrontations that Shiki had to have managed to hurt Garp, because although it doesn't appear to be very serious, he is an incredibly smart character. And again, Shiki did come from the most powerful crew at the time. And although Shiki was never regarded as a Yonko and might be slightly less powerful, we have to acknowledge his great strength. So Shiki most likely would have caused scars on Garp's body. Although, like the other scars that we've talked about in this video, we just haven't seen him on the Marine hero's body. Only that single scar is visible on his face. So as you can see, Garp is an important Marine and is also considered the hero of the Navy. Throughout his career, Garp faced off against some of the most powerful pirates that have ever existed in the world of One Piece, and many of them had to have left scars on Garp's body. And just like all of us and any scars that we personally carry, these would have marked this Vice Admiral from all the victories and defeats that he had had throughout his career as the hero of the Navy. So with all that said, my friends, we'd now love to know what you think about it. Who else could have left a scar on Garp's body, and where do you think we might find these? And also, do you think there's ever going to be a chance where we might get to see Garp rip off his shirt or something and see some of these memories laid in his skin? Also, are there any other adversaries that we might have forgotten in the video? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So as we wrap up our video for the day, we would like to thank you all so much for watching the video, especially those of you who've made it here to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.